Heartwarming moment, Millionaire overhears two twin girls touching Plea for bread, transforming their lives forever. In the small town of Cedar Grove, where crumbling storefronts whispered tales of better days, hope felt as scarce as a sunny day in December. Rachel, a devoted 32-year-old single mother, dashed through the local grocery store, clutching her daughter's tiny hands. She had two jobs, each demanding every ounce of her energy, yet her 7-year-old twin daughters, Lily and Emma, filled her heart with a warmth that kept her going. Their bright eyes sparkled with curiosity, and their laughter echoed like music to her weary soul. They were her dreams wrapped in little bodies, the only motivation that pushed her forward against the crushing weight of bills that threatened to drown them. As she navigated the aisles, Rachel scanned the dusty shelves that held remnants of what used to be a thriving marketplace, now bare, void, and filled with the hollow echo of prosperity lost. Just a loaf of bread, she thought. A simple loaf, the cornerstone of comfort for an evening dinner. She could almost hear the sound of it, the crust golden and warm, mingling with the sense of the small meals they share together. "Mommy, can we ask him?" Emma whispered, nudging her sister as they spotted Mr. Thompson, a sharply dressed businessman, waiting by his luxury car just outside the store. His stony demeanor seemed to repulse any chance of warmth, yet as Rachel turned to scold the girls, she paused. The innocent hope in their eyes was too beautiful to crush. The twins skipped towards him, their voices a soft melody amidst the murmur of shoppers. "Excuse me, sir. Can you please help us? We need some bread." Mr. Thompson's expression hardened, yet something flickered in his gaze as the words sank in. They didn't know who he was, just a man in a fancy suit, yet their simple request cut through the air with a rawness he wasn't prepared for. It struck him like a bolt, a direct hit to his privilege. The discomfort hung between them, a chasm of understanding not easily bridged. As he processed their plea, a stifling silence enveloped them. The moment felt charged with intensity, a wealthy man faced with the earnest need of struggling children. For the first time, he questioned the world he built around him. "I'll see what I can do," he finally murmured, the words heavy as he turned away, burdened by the weight of their plea. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Rachel felt a flicker of hope, brighter than any store sign, as she returned to her daughters. Mr. Thompson's decision hung like a sword over their heads. He could choose to help, to defy the disdain his board members would likely show, or bury his conscience in the endless cycle of privilege. As the twins obliviously played with grocery items, Rachel noticed the subtle gestures of strangers around them, a neighbor slipping a can of soup into her cart, another offering a kind smile. In Cedar Grove, community support ran deep, as neighbors reminded each other of the warmth this cold world couldn't snuff out. As Mr. Thompson walked through the store's entrance, the tension mounted. He was at a crossroads that could either bind their worlds together or reinforce the divide. As he looked into the hopeful eyes of the twins, a question emerged in his heart, pulling him to finally confront the very fabric of his life. Would he become a bridge, or would he continue to build walls? With a heavy heart, Mr. Thompson stepped deeper into the store, his mind racing. The twins' innocent faces lingered in his thoughts, their plea echoing like a love song in a crowded room. He spent years acquiring wealth, meticulously building his empire, ensuring his family's legacy would thrive. But at what cost? The chains of privilege felt heavier now, binding him to a world that often ignored the suffering around it. As he reached the back of the store, a peculiar aroma wafted through the air, fresh bread. It beckoned him, a sweet reminder of simpler times, when he marveled at the smell of his mother's homemade loaves filling their small kitchen. He could hear her laughter as he helped knead the dough. Those moments had been rich with warmth and love, unlike the polished existence he now led, where human connections felt as distant as the mountains in the horizon. Suddenly, he found himself standing in front of the bread aisle. Rows of loaves beckoned him like a siren's call. Should he just grab a few, or was it too easy? What would it mean if he handed them over, just like that? A quick transaction of exchange bread for guilt. But a thought nagged at him, maybe it needed to be more than that. This was an opportunity to make a difference. Meanwhile, Rachel and the twins meandered down the aisle, pushing their shopping cart with tangled emotions. Rachel began to lose hope. What had she expected? People like Mr. Thompson had lives forever divided from her own struggles. As she hurried through the store, her daughters chattered away, a bright contrast to her internal darkness. The twinkle in their eyes refused to dim, even if theirs was a world that sometimes felt dim and gray. Suddenly, a voice shattered her thoughts. "Excuse me." Mr. Thompson called, cornering her in the aisle. Rachel turned to him, bewildered. He looked different now, as if he had shed a layer of that corporate armor. The resolve in his eyes felt new, yet she couldn't shake off the instinct to retreat. I wanted to help," he stammered, his voice a mixture of uncertainty and determination. He clutched 2 loaves of bread in his hands, the fresh golden crust shimmering under the fluorescent lights. "I brought this for you and your girls." Rachel's heart raced. Could she accept? Something raw and honest flickered in his gaze, not the cold detachment she had initially perceived. It wasn't just bread, it was a lifeline, a bridge over the chasm of their realities. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. She took the loaves, feeling their warmth seep into her palms. The air around them seemed charged, the world halting for a brief moment while emotions crashed like waves against the shore. Lily and Emma stood beside her, confused yet intrigued by this man. "You're really nice," Lily said innocently, her wide eyes capturing the moment's magic. Emma nodded vigorously, her 2 pigtails bouncing with enthusiasm. "Yeah. Thank you, mister." The scene shifted. In that tiny grocery store, the invisible barriers began to crumble as more shoppers paused to observe. Strangers shared glances, some smiling at this unexpected kindness, while whispers spread through the aisles like wildfire. Was this the moment when their worlds would intertwine? As Mr. Thompson knelt down to meet the twins' eager faces, he felt a surge of emotion, a desire deeper than any financial transaction he'd ever made. The walls he had built were beginning to tremble, and he sensed that change was in the air, but what would his actions mean beyond a simple act of charity? "Let us talk," he said, his eyes locking onto Rachel's, a flicker of hope igniting in their depths. Would this encounter unfold into something larger, beyond bread and fleeting niceties? What lay ahead was uncertain, but one question pulsed loudly in Rachel's heart as she glanced at Mr. Thompson, wondering if this was the start of a friendship that could transform their lives. Would he be the change they desperately needed, or just a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of life? Rachel felt a wave of vulnerability wash over her. Here was this man, a stranger really, but somehow he felt like more a flicker of hope against the dim backdrop of her life. She glanced at Lily and Emma, innocent smiles shining brightly. Maybe it was okay to accept kindness when it was offered. "Okay," she replied, the word escaping her lips more easily than she had anticipated. "Let us talk." As Mr. Thompson straightened up, a sense of surprise flickered across his face. He had expected pushback, maybe even resentment. Instead, Rachel seemed to be inviting him into a world he had long abandoned in pursuit of success. "Maybe we can find a table somewhere?" he suggested, looking around the busy store. Rachel nodded, grateful to escape the watchful eyes of onlookers. They found a small cafe area near the store entrance, where the scent of coffee mingled with baked goods. The twins clambered onto their chairs, faces bright with curiosity. Mr. Thompson took a deep breath. This was not just a conversation about bread, it was an opportunity to step into their lives. Tension hung in the air as Mr. Thompson began. "I'm sorry if I came off as hurried back there. It struck me how brave you were, asking for help. It's something I've forgotten how to do." He glanced at Rachel, searching for understanding. "I'm just trying to make sure my girls have what they need," Rachel replied, her voice steadying. "It's not easy." It feels like everything is getting out of reach lately. The twins fidgeted in their seats, uncertain of the adult conversation swirling around them. Emma turned to her mother. "Mommy, do we get to keep the bread?" "Yes, sweetie," Rachel said with a faint smile, her heart softening. "We do. And maybe, hopefully, more than that." She looked back at Mr. Thompson, catching a glimpse of something deeper, a fragility beneath his polished exterior. That he nodded, absorbing her words. "I've been so focused on pinning down success that I've lost sight of what truly matters," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I get so rattled by numbers and profits that I forget about people, their lives, their needs." Rachel felt a spark of connection. "You're not alone in that. We all get tangled up in our own lives. But sometimes it just takes a small step to make a big difference." Her eyes met his, and for a moment, there was an understanding heavier than words. "I want to help," he stated firmly, the resolve firming in his voice. "Not just today, but in a real way. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I want to figure it out." The warmth of vulnerability touched them both. Rachel felt a mixture of dread and hope, uncertain of what this meant for her life but tantalized by the possibilities. "Why don't we start with something simple then?" she suggested, her heart racing. "Maybe food donations, or I don't know, helping at a local shelter." Mr. Thompson's face brightened, and they began to exchange ideas, simple ones, easy enough to grasp but powerful enough to hold the weight of change. As they talked, the rest of the cafe faded into a blur. The twins giggled, spinning in their chairs as they shared secrets, oblivious to the weight of the moment unfolding around them. Little sparks of laughter intertwined with deeper plans that echoed hope, but just as hope began to blossom, a sudden commotion interrupted them. A loud crash echoed from the entrance of the store, followed by frantic shouting. Rachel turned, heart pounding, as a figure burst into the cafe, eyes wild with panic. "Help! Somebody needs help!" Rachel's mind raced. What would unfold now? Would their conversation of hope be swept away by chaos, or would it stand strong against this new challenge? Rachel's heart pounded as she turned to face the figure who had rushed into the cafe. The voice was frantic, laced with urgency that rattled through the air like thunder. "Please. It's my sister. She fainted outside the store." The young woman, barely in her 20s, gasped for breath, her face streaked with tears and panic. Mr. Thompson immediately leaned forward. "What happened? Where is she?" His instincts kicked in, the businessman transforming into a concerned citizen, ready to take action. "She sat down on the bench in front of the store. She was feeling sick from the heat," the woman stammered, shaking with fear. "She hasn't woken up." Rachel felt her stomach drop. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, but she couldn't sit idly. "We need to get help. Can you show us?" Without waiting for an answer, she rose from her seat. The urgency propelled her, and just like that, she led the charge. Mr. Thompson followed closely, the twins now grasping their mother's hands, sensing the tension in the air. The cafe buzz faded as they reached the entrance of the store. A small crowd had gathered, some whispering, others dialing on their phones. Rachel spotted the young woman's sister slumped on a nearby bench, her face pale. "Call an ambulance," Mr. Thompson commanded, his voice slicing through the chaos. A man in the crowd pulled out his phone, his hands shaking as he relayed the emergency. Rachel knelt beside the sister. "What is her name?" she asked gently, brushing the sweat from the girl's brow. "Sarah," the young woman replied, her voice trembling. "Sarah, can you hear me?" Rachel whispered, her heart aching at the sight of the girl's stillness. With each moment that passed, the tension in the crowd grew thicker. Rachel felt Emma and Lily clutching her tightly, confused by the turn of events. They were used to comfort and joy, not the sharp edge of fear. But Rachel pressed on. "Sarah, we're here to help you," she said softly, even as her own heart hammered away, calling for courage she didn't fully feel. Suddenly, Sarah stirred a small movement at first, then a flutter of her eyelids. Rachel felt a rush of relief wash over her. "Stay with us, sweetie," Rachel urged, leaning closer. "Help is on the way." As Sarah blinked her eyes open, fear turned into recognition. "What happened?" she murmured, faint yet aware. "You were feeling dizzy," Rachel replied, keeping her tone calm. "You're safe now." Just then, the wail of sirens cut through the air. The crowd parted, allowing paramedics to weave through and attend to Sarah. Rachel watched as the professionals took over, new adrenaline flooding her veins. Mr. Thompson stepped closer, his expression a mix of admiration and concern. "You were amazing back there," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We all did what we could," Rachel replied, feeling slightly shaken but empowered. "Sometimes it's all about being there." As the team worked on Sarah, the crowd slowly began to disperse, their initial concern giving way to relief. Still, Rachel's heart felt heavy. She had started this day filled with uncertainty, and now what's next? She wondered aloud, glancing back at Mr. Thompson. "We keep helping," he said resolutely, his eyes now glowing with purpose. "You'll see." But even as hope began to settle into her heart again, a question nagged at her. Could this bond they were building withstand the storm life had thrown their way? What if this was only the beginning of a much larger challenge? And would they be strong enough to face it together? Rachel took a deep breath, the weight of the day still clinging to her. The paramedics were working quickly, professional and focused, their hands moving efficiently. Sarah's sister was being ushered away, looking relieved yet shaken, while Rachel found herself lingering with Mr. Thompson and her girls. "Mom," Emma whispered, pulling at her sleeve, "is Sarah going to be okay?" Rachel knelt down beside her twins, meeting their wide, innocent eyes. "I think she will be, honey. The paramedics are taking good care of her." Lily furrowed her brow in that way only children could, a mix of worry and curiosity. "Why did she faint? What if that happens to you?" Rachel smiled softly, her heart warming at their concern. "I'm fine, sweetie. Sometimes, people don't drink enough water or get too hot. It's important to take care of ourselves." Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "You're incredible, Rachel. What you did back there was just instinct," she interrupted, a shyness creeping into her words. "I just wanted to help." "Instinct is often the most powerful thing," he replied, his gaze steady. "You acted when others might have hesitated." He paused, studying her for a moment. "Have you ever thought about using that gift to help more people? Maybe in a more organized way?" Rachel felt her heart leap. The suggestion whispered to her deepest desires, ones she had tucked away while juggling motherhood and her own life's uncertainties. "I haven't really considered it. I'm just trying to make it through each day." "There's strength in weakness too," he said gently. "And moments like today show that we can inspire each other. You already have by your actions." Just then, the paramedic stood, lifting Sarah onto a stretcher. Her eyes caught Rachel's, and for a brief moment, they locked in understanding. The fear in Sarah's gaze had transformed into gratitude. Rachel felt a rush of warmth, a sense of connection that transcended their short encounter. "Thank you," Sarah mouthed, and Rachel felt herself flood with emotion. As the stretcher moved forward, Mr. Thompson clapped his hands together, breaking the spell that lingered over them. "All right, everyone. Let us gather our thoughts and turn this moment into something meaningful. Why not make our small community just a little stronger?" Rachel's heart raced at the challenge. "What do you mean?" "Let us organize a health and wellness fair in the park. We can invite medical professionals, set up educational booths, make it fun for families. We can even bring Sarah an offering of support when she's feeling better." The idea bloomed in the air, each word hanging like a promise. Rachel began to see the vision come alive, families coming together to strengthen their community. "I love it!" Lily exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. "Can I help, too?" "Of course, sweetheart," Rachel said, her heart swelling with pride. As they discussed ideas, Rachel felt a surge of hope. This was the spark she needed, something to push past the fear of uncertainty. Yet in the back of her mind, a shadow loomed. What if they faced obstacles she couldn't foresee? What if the past repeated itself in ways they couldn't handle? Mr. Thompson's voice broke through her thoughts once more. Let us meet tomorrow to cover the details. Together, we can make this work. They agreed, a covenant forming between them, a tentative thread of unity. Just as they started to part ways, Rachel caught sight of a glimmer of movement just beyond the cafe. There, perched on a bench, sat a child with oversized shoes and mismatched clothes, eyes wide and hopeful. What was he waiting for? A chill ran down her spine, the sense of another story unraveling, ready and waiting to be told. Could they really help everyone? Rachel's breath caught as she stared at the child across the street. The little boy sat alone, knees drawn up to his chest, his large, round eyes gleaming with innocence yet filled with quiet longing. Something tugged at her heart. Was he waiting for someone? Did he need help? Mom. Emma's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling Rachel back to the moment. Can we go say hi? Rachel hesitated, her instinct to protect her daughters flaring up. Sweetie, we don't know him, maybe he's just waiting for his parents. But the twins on either side of her had already taken a couple of steps forward. Lily nudged Emma, excitement bubbling in her voice. Come on. He looks sad. We can be nice. Rachel watched as they moved forward, an overwhelming sense of pride battling with her protective instincts. The girls had such big hearts, and despite her worries, perhaps this might be the start of encouraging them to reach out to others. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness could change everything. The boy looked up, startled at the sight of the two girls approaching. He brushed his bangs from his face and blinked, still clutching a small, tattered cloth bag on his lap. Hi. Lily said, her voice bright and inviting. I'm Lily, and this is my sister, Emma. What is your name? Eddie, he replied, his voice soft and barely audible, making Rachel lean in a little closer. Eddie. Emma beamed at him, why are you sitting here all by yourself? The boy looked down, tracing a finger along the frayed edge of his bag. I'm waiting for my mom. She said to come here, but she didn't come back yet. Oh. Emma exclaimed, her face falling slightly. Do you want us to help you find her? Eddie shook his head, his tiny shoulders slumping. No, it's okay. I think she's just working. I just got hungry. Rachel felt a wave of heartbreak wash over her. A child, alone and hungry, waiting for a parent who might be stuck elsewhere. There was a sandwich shop just a few steps beyond the cafe. Eddie, Rachel found her voice, kneeling down beside him, would you like something to eat? We could share with you. His eyes widened in surprise, and a glimmer of hope flickered there. You mean it? Of course, she smiled warmly, already feeling the urgency rise in her chest. Could you help me carry something back for everyone? The girls exchanged excited glances, as Eddie cautiously nodded. They turned toward the sandwich shop, and Rachel felt a sense of purpose fill her, the heaviness of the earlier events lifting a little. As they walked, Eddie shared stories of playground adventures and different sandwiches he loved. The twins were enchanted, laughing and chatting, while Rachel listened intently, but as they reached the shop, a shadow loomed in Rachel's mind. Taking care of Eddie was just one small act in a world filled with challenges. How many other children like him were out there, feeling overlooked? Can we all get something to eat? Lily asked, her eyes wide as she scanned the menu. Yes, sweetheart, but we need to think of something bigger than just sandwiches. Eddie looked up at her with confusion. Bigger? Rachel took a deep breath, her heart tapping with an idea. We can make sure no child has to feel hungry or alone. What if we started a community meal day? We could gather food and invite everyone to share. I love that. Emma jumped up and down. Eddie smiled shyly, the idea blossoming in his large, hopeful eyes. "Can I help too?" Rachel felt a swell of determination envelop her. How many small hearts could they reach if they worked together? As they left the shop, carrying bags full of sandwiches, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Just as they stepped outside, she noticed Mr. Thompson in the distance, waving at them with a look of appreciation on his face. "Hey!" he called out, walking towards them. "Sounds like a wonderful idea. We can brainstorm more tomorrow." She couldn't help but smile, the rhythm of hope pulsing through her veins. Could they really make a difference together? What if Eddie's story could spark a fire in others, igniting change in ways everyone underestimated? The possibilities loomed ahead, and Rachel felt the thrill of a new journey beginning. But as she turned back toward the park, she spotted something strange shining beneath the playground equipment. What was that? Rachel's curiosity swirled around the strange glimmer beneath the playground equipment. It caught the light just right, shining like a tiny beacon amid the sand. What could it be? She took a few cautious steps toward it, guided by an instinct that urged her to investigate. "Mom, what is it?" Lily asked, tugging gently at Rachel's sleeve. "I'm not sure, sweetie," Rachel replied, her voice tinged with intrigue. Eddie stood a few paces behind her, a look of wonder crossing his face as he watched Rachel kneel down in the playground dirt. Whatever it was, it could wait for a moment. The thrill of planning the community meal buzzed in her mind, but the mysterious object stirred something deeper, a sense of urgency, a hint of fate. With trembling fingers, she reached out and brushed away some of the sand. A small metallic object gleamed through the dirt. As she pulled it out, her eyes widened. It was a locket, intricately designed and slightly tarnished. Rachel felt an inexplicable pull toward it, as though it held a story longing to be told. "Look, girls!" she exclaimed, holding it up to the light. Eddie stepped closer, his eyes widening in surprise. "That's pretty. Was it lost?" "I think so," Rachel said, flipping the locket over in her hands. It felt cool against her skin, heavy with memories yet to be uncovered. "It looks like it's been here for a while. What do you think is inside?" Emma asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Rachel flipped the delicate clasp open. Inside was a faded photograph of a young girl, perhaps no more than 8 years old, and beside her was a woman who looked remarkably kind. They both wore matching smiles that seemed to leap right out of the locket. The sight tugged at Rachel's heartstrings. "Do you think they're lost?" Lily wondered aloud, her brow furrowed in concern. "Maybe," Rachel replied gently. "Or maybe it's just a special memory that someone misplaced." A sudden resolve began to take shape within Rachel. Holding the locket was more than just finding a lost object, it felt like a call to action. A way to connect with others, to remind them that memories like kindness always found a way back to the surface. "What if we try to find who it belongs to?" Rachel suggested, her heart racing at the thought of a new purpose. Eddie's face lit up with enthusiasm. "Yes. We could ask around the neighborhood. Maybe someone will recognize the girl or the lady." "Great thinking." Emma chimed in, her excitement contagious. Lily nodded vigorously, biting her lip to suppress a grin. As they turned to leave the playground, the weight of the locket in Rachel's pocket pulsed warmly against her thigh, a quiet promise. She felt the collective hope of the 3 children beside her, it brewed as they made plans for their next steps. Rachel recognized the ripple effects this small discovery could have, just like their intention to feed the hungry. It was a chain reaction, a way to bring people together, but just as they were about to leave, a figure emerged from behind the swings. It was a woman, her eyes locked onto the locket in Rachel's hand. She looked frazzled and worried, the lines of concern etched on her face. "Excuse me," she called, her voice trembling slightly. Is that my daughter's locket?" Rachel's heart raced. What would this mean for their journey? Would their small gesture of kindness lead to something bigger, something that could help not just Eddie, but this woman too? As the woman reached them, Rachel took a deep breath, welcoming the unexpected into their day. This was more than just a simple act of kindness, they were on the brink of something transformative, something that could change everything. What did the woman know? Would this encounter spark a new adventure? Rachel's heart dropped as she recognized the urgency in the woman's voice. She stepped forward, her grip tightening around the locket. I think it is, Rachel said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman looked closer, her blue eyes shimmering with a hint of moisture. That's my daughter, Leah. She lost it when we were playing here not long ago. Feeling the weight of the moment, Rachel hesitated. Then it belongs to you, she said, slowly extending her hand, the locket resting gently in her palm. But something stopped her from letting go completely. Can you tell me about it? About Leah? Tears brimmed in the woman's eyes as she took the locket, cradling it like a precious treasure. I tried to explain to her that it's a piece of our family history, she said, pulling out a tissue from her purse, her voice catching. I just hope she doesn't feel like she's lost her connection to me. Lily tugged on Rachel's sleeve, her innocent curiosity palpable. Why is it so important? The woman knelt down until she was eye level with Lily. Sometimes, memories can feel lost. This locket reminds us of the love we share, even if it's not right in front of us all the time. Rachel felt tears welling in her own eyes. It was more than a locket, it was a lifeline, a thread connecting past and present. I'm Rachel, she said, extending her hand to the woman. What's your name? I'm Sarah, the woman replied, shaking Rachel's hand firmly. Thank you, I thought I'd never see it again. Emma stepped forward, a thought sparking in her mind. You should tell Leah that it was found. She might be sad otherwise. That's a great idea. Rachel said, and Sarah's expression brightened. But how do we find her? Eddie asked, tilting his head in confusion. I was on my way to pick her up from the school just a few blocks away, Sarah said, her voice suddenly growing more animated. If you'd like, I'd love for you to come with me. I'd like Leah to meet the wonderful people who found her locket. Rachel felt the thrill of a new adventure building within her. We'd love that, she replied, glancing at the kids, who were nodding excitedly. As they started walking, the promise of connection replaced any lingering apprehension. It's funny, Rachel mused, I thought we were going to the playground to help others, and here we are already making a difference. Oh, we'll still do the community meal, Emma reminded her. This is just a different way to help. As they strolled along the tree-lined streets, Rachel could feel the warmth radiating from the children beside her. Each step felt lighter, as if they were shedding more of the ordinary and moving towards something extraordinary. When they finally reached the school, a wave of children poured out, laughter filling the air. Rachel's heart raced with anticipation. She spotted Leah in the crowd, a small figure with blonde curls bouncing. Sarah! Leah called, her face lighting up when she saw her mother. You're early. Rachel watched as Sarah knelt down, pulling Leah into a warm embrace. I have someone you need to meet, sweet pea. But before Sarah could finish, Leah's eyes fell on the locket that hung from her mother's hand. The gleam echoed the sunlight, drawing the girl closer. What would Leah say when she knew the truth? Would she understand the journey it took to bring that locket back? Would her eyes light up with joy the way Rachel hoped? As the moment hung in the air, Rachel held her breath, her heart pounding. In that instant, she realized their journey was only just beginning. What other surprises lay ahead? Leah's gaze locked onto the locket, her little fingers already reaching out as if guided by an invisible thread. Rachel held her breath, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. Would this sweet girl understand the power of the piece of jewelry that had unknowingly brought them together? Mommy! Is that my locket? Leah's voice was full of eagerness, her eyes wide with hope as she shifted from her mother's embrace to stand in front of her. Sarah nodded, her own heart in her throat as she replied, Yes, sweetheart. It was found by Rachel and her friends. They helped bring it back to you. The pride in Sarah's voice resonated deep within Rachel, lending her strength. Leah blinked, her expression shifting from eagerness to a question that penetrated the air. But how did they find it? The innocence of her question revealed the complexity of a child's world. Rachel stepped forward, kneeling to meet Leah's bright blue eyes. You see, we were playing in the park when we came across it. I didn't know it was yours, but I knew it was special. She could see Leah's eyes shimmering, as if she were piecing together something more than just the story behind her lost item. This locket is really special, Leah said softly, her fingers now delicately caressing the cool surface. It has a picture of my grandma inside. It makes me feel close to her, even when she's far away. Rachel felt a thrum of understanding settle between them. Family keeps our hearts connected, doesn't it? She asked, not entirely sure if her words would resonate. Leah nodded vigorously. Yes. And now I have it back. The sparkle in her eyes matched the energy of the moment, and Rachel could sense the joy blossoming, but confusion crossed Leah's face as she turned to her mother. But do you think I lost Grandma too? I don't want to lose her. Everyone felt the weight of that innocent fear. Sarah knelt beside her daughter, brushing away a stray hair behind Leah's ear. Sweetheart, you may not see Grandma all the time, but she loves you and is always with you, just like this locket. It keeps her memory close. Rachel felt a lump rise in her throat. It was beautiful how Leah could find comfort in something so simple but so profound. The locket was not just a piece of jewelry, it was a bridge between love and remembrance. I want to keep it forever. Leah declared, her small hands cradling the locket tightly, like a small treasure. The pride in Sarah's eyes reflected the joy swelling within Rachel's chest. Rachel stood up, smiling down at the pair. Well, it seems like Leah has the best guardian for her treasure right here. Sarah beamed, her heart filled with gratitude. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you all. You've given us something even more precious today. Her eyes glistened, revealing both relief and appreciation, but then Leah's curious little face turned serious. Can we go back to the park now? I want to play again. Maybe we can find something else magical. Emma giggled, that's a great idea, Leah. Who knows what we could find? Rachel watched the children's enthusiasm bubble over, then felt that familiar thrill of adventure. Let us do it. We can make a game out of it. Treasure hunters looking for more lost gems. As they turned toward the park, the sun cast a golden light over the group. The laughter of children mixed with the promise of new discoveries floated in the air. Just as they reached the park entrance, Rachel felt a rumble of uncertainty in her chest. Something unforeseen seemed to be lurking on the horizon. Could there be a deeper significance behind the items they might unearth? She shook off the thought, allowing the playful banter of the children to wash over her. But one question lingered: what if finding treasures was about more than just material things? What if it was about healing, understanding, and connecting across the gaps life created? The adventure had just begun, and Rachel knew the heart of the journey lay ahead. What other treasure would they discover next? As they stepped into the park, the air buzzed with laughter and liveliness, the sun shining down like a warm embrace. Rachel watched as her daughters and Leah darted off, playful spirits dancing among the swings and slides. Her heart swelled with hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the fresh start they all needed. Mr. Thompson soon joined them, his earlier reservations now washed away as he played along, laughing with the children and embracing their innocent zest for life. Every giggle echoed like a reminder that there was beauty to be found even in the darkest corners of life. Have you ever been a treasure hunter? Mr. Thompson asked the girls, his smile bright and sincere. Lily and Emma shook their heads, eyes wide with curiosity. I want to find a magical treasure, like a golden egg. Emma exclaimed, bouncing on her heels. That sounds perfect. Rachel chimed in, feeling invigorated by their excitement. Maybe we could create our very own treasure map. The idea ignited a new wave of enthusiasm, and together they sat on the grass, tracing out imaginary paths and drawing markers for hidden treasures. The children were enthralled, their minds bursting with potential. It struck Rachel then, this wasn't just about treasures wrapped in paper, this was about forging connections, forming memories, and living in the moment. It dawned on her that every smile, every touch, every shared experience was a treasure in itself. Before long, the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the park. Just as Rachel finished sketching the last trail on their makeshift map, a voice interrupted their happy chatter. "Excuse me." A woman approached, her eyes sparkling with urgency. "I couldn't help but overhear you found a locket, right?" "Yes," Rachel affirmed, her heart racing at another twist to their day. "It belonged to this girl's family." The woman smiled, relief flooding her features. "That's wonderful. I'm Leah's aunt. I had been worried when I heard she lost her grandmother's locket." The connection made Rachel's heart leap. Here was another thread weaving their stories together. As they talked, Rachel realized how deep and far-reaching kindness could be. Each interaction, each locket found, each moment shared was another reminder of their common humanity. Together, they were building a community fragile yet strong, a tapestry woven from the hearts of intricate stories. "Would you like us to join your treasure hunt?" Leah's aunt asked, her eyes twinkling with delight. "Yes," cried the twins, and soon enough, the echoes of laughter filled the air once more. The impromptu family expanded, their joviality creating a warmth that wrapped around them like a soft blanket against the waning chill of the evening. With new friends beside them, Rachel felt a wave of unity. They searched playfully, calling out for treasures they defined: buried buttons, forgotten coins, even wildflowers that grew unassumingly in the grass. And with each discovery, they celebrated as if they struck gold. But what blossomed deeper was something else, a promise of togetherness, of support, and of resilience against the struggles life had laid at their feet. As the twilight began to color the sky in pastels, Rachel caught Mr. Thompson's eye. His expression mirrored hers, a recognition that this spark of camaraderie and kindness had the potential to change everything. Their earlier talks about the community meal and outreach took root, blossoming into a vision full of possibility. The laughter of children around them felt like a refrain, a delightful melody that sang of new beginnings. Rachel felt lighter with every stretch of the day, her worries ebbing away as she stood with her newfound community, almost as if everything would be okay. By the time the sun lowered entirely, casting shades of gold across their faces, it felt like the world had shifted. "Tomorrow," Rachel announced, heart racing in anticipation. "We're going to start planning the community meal so no one has to go hungry again." Cheers erupted from the children, and even the adults couldn't help but smile. Mr. Thompson stepped closer, nodding with pride. "Let's make it something unforgettable," he replied, full of promise. Together. As the group chatted excitedly about their plans, Rachel's heart swelled with gratitude. She started with just a small desire to feed her children, and through one act of vulnerability, they were paving the way for something profound. A chance to open doors, to bridge the divides, and to come together as a united front against life's challenges. Rachel wrapped her arms around her girls, who squealed with joy and crackled with energy. What had begun as a simple day had unfolded into a beautiful tapestry of connections, experiences, and new paths ahead. This was only the beginning. Everything felt right, as it should, and she couldn't help but think, what other treasures awaited them just around the corner. In that moment, as the twilight faded to night, she understood one simple truth: together, they could change their world. Don't miss out. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Show your support, because this is the moment to do so. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the warmth.